Welcome back to the Great Library of Mudora. What exactly is Calamity Ganon? Where did he come from? To know this, we'll need to dive deep into the lore of the Zelda series. Here, we'll take a look at the instances of incarnations of darkness and their source chronologically, following the timeline shared with us in Hyrule Historia. So first up, from Skyward Sword, is the Harbinger of Death himself, the Demon King Demise. Known as Shuen no Mono in Japan, he's literally the One of Demise, the Death Dealer, incarnation of darkness, source of all monsters and all that is evil in the world. He led a campaign in time immemorial to claim the Triforce of the Gods, only to be sealed away by the goddess Hylia. Ages later, his bestial and weakened state, the Imprisoned, loomed large, threatening to consume the world. But he was disposed of by the goddess's chosen hero, Link of Skyloft, done in by a Triforce wish. Or so we thought. His second-in-command had other ideas, and kidnapped Zelda, the goddess reborn as immortal herself, into the remote past, and revived his master there. Absorbing Zelda's soul, he was restored to his former self. Link opposed him one-on-one and managed to defeat this primal demon, but at a cost. With his dying breath, Demise cursed both Link's unbreakable soul and Zelda's blood descendants to a cycle of torment forevermore, that his hate never perishes, and will be born into the world as an incarnation of hatred and malice wherever and whenever they will appear. His dark residue was absorbed into the Holy Master Sword and left in the care of Impa in the ancient Temple of Hylia to decay. The very first incarnation of this demon's curse is Ganondorf, the Gerudo King of Thieves, who makes his debut in Ocarina of Time. Swearing insincere fealty to the crown of Hyrule, he secretly plotted to enter the Forbidden Sacred Realm for himself and take the Triforce of the Gods for his own greedy needs. His absolute wish? To blot out the light and make a world of darkness, which he would rule over forever. But his plans are foiled on two separate occasions, depending on the timeline branch you follow, by the reincarnation of the Unbreakable Soul and the inheritor of the Goddess Blood, that is, the Hero of Time and the Princess Zelda. In the adult timeline, after reigning in Hyrule with the Triforce of Power for 7 long years, he's utterly defeated and sealed away by the efforts of Link wielding the Master Sword, the Princess, and the Sages. In the adult timeline, set many years after Link's triumph over the Demon King and his departure from that history, Ganon once again threatens the land. Having crawled up from the depths, Hyrule's fate is sealed along with Ganon's by the gods, but not before a select few are ushered up to the mountaintops. The land is sealed in time and swallowed by a sea of rain. Several centuries later, now with Hyrule but a vague memory, the shadow of Ganon once more interferes. But a new hero is born, said to be the reincarnation of the Hero of Time himself, and, after a fierce duel, this boy kills Ganondorf with a finishing blow to the forehead with the Holy Master Sword, which encases that wicked man in stone, where he remains, below the sea. In the child timeline, now that the king's been informed by the Triforce of Courage wielding young Link, who returned from the future, Ganondorf's plans are shot. Outed, this demon thief attacked Hyrule, giving them more incentive to do away with him. He was finally captured and sentenced for death. But by some divine prank, he carried the Triforce of Power. Most likely, this is due to Link carrying Courage, which would have split the Triforce up and sent the pieces off to those chosen by destiny to wield them. Now, unable to die, he was instead banished to the netherworld of Twilight by the ancient sages, and forgotten, a mere footnote in the annals of history, for a time. But, lo and behold, he reared his ugly mug once again. Centuries after his botched execution, he arrived in secret from the Twilight Realm, puppeteering an army of demonic shadow beasts, led by the upstart King of Darkness named Zant. Hyrule quickly surrenders against this threat, and is curtained in eternal dusk. This mantle of shadows is cast off by the descendant of the hero who inherited the Triforce of Courage, a ranch hand named Link from the south of Hyrule's woodlands. Called by destiny, he returns the lost light to every corner of Hyrule and proved himself a hero, earning the Master Sword which slept deep in the woods. In the very ruins of the Temple of Time, he destroys Zant, saves those who are transformed into shadow beasts, and faces off against Ganondorf. After a long and arduous battle, Link plunges the Master Sword into the heart of this vile man, and, echoing the words of his former self from ages past, he succumbs to his wounds and dies, the Triforce of Power fading from his hand. Several generations later, in Four Swords Adventures, we come now to the rebirth of Ganondorf, to the Gerudo tribe in Hyrule's desert. Raised, warped, perhaps by Twin Rova, this man pursues only greater and greater power. He thirsts for domination and control. So, he breaks the laws of his people. He enters the Forbidden Pyramid Temple, and there he claims the unholy demon's instrument, the Trident of Darkness, which makes him the true King of Darkness. Transforming into a bestial creature, he takes the name Ganon and begins to amass followers, and causes troubles from the shadows in Hyrule, framing the current hero for misdeeds by creating a shadow copy of him. The evil wind demon Vati is released from his imprisonment in the Sacred Four Sword, and the Princess Zelda and the 6 Shrine Maidens are whisked away by a fierce wind. Zelda's closest friend and protector, the current hero, Link, takes up the Four Sword, which splits him into 4, and they embark on an adventure to rescue the maidens and save the land. The Links learn of Ganon's involvement as their journey progresses, and in the end, they face off against this ultimate threat, and win. With the help of the rescued Shrine Maidens, they seal the self-proclaimed Demon King of Darkness within the matrix of the Four Sword, and seal that blade in its pedestal. So that would be the end of Ganon, right? Well, being that the Four Swords' sacred powers must constantly be recharged to function in-game, and that it's released Vati twice, who's substantially less powerful than the current demon inhabiting the blade, it isn't a stretch to suggest that this seal did not last. No matter the case, there are still more Ganons to cover. In the Downfall timeline, after Ganondorf claimed the Sacred Triangles and became the ultimate Demon King, he was sealed away in the Dark World by the sages in a desperate attempt to save themselves. Unable to return to Hyrule, a specter of his dark wishes seeps into the world and causes trouble there. Greedy people begin to disappear into this gathering darkness, and the King of Hyrule has no choice but to call upon the Knight's family and the 7 sages to save them all. The sages seek out a hero to wield the Master Sword of Legend, but with the specter of Ganon looming over the castle, they decide to face him directly, without a hero. A terrible battle unfolds, and the Evil One's attacks batter and slay many of the knights sworn to protect the sages with their lives. But the spells are cast, and the source of the evil is sealed with a powerful magic that should have held for all time. But when ages passed, and those deeds were known only as legend, new troubles began to plague Hyrule. In A Link to the Past, the Hylian race was now nothing more than a memory, their old ruins scattered across the land. A priest arrived like a comet, dispelling plagues, droughts, and other troubles, and he was hailed as the second coming of the sages. He entered the royal palace with a spot at the king's side, but this man was not what he seemed. This priest was truly an evil wizard, and he betrayed the good king. He sought out the descendants of the 7 sages, and sacrificed them to the darkness to dismantle the ancient barrier and free his other self, Ganon. Yes, Ganon, the Demon King of Darkness, wielder of the Triforce of the Gods, creator of the Dark World, and great calamity unto Hyrule. But a prophecy existed, that a descendant of the nearly extinct knights would bear one to be the hero, who would take up the sacred Master Sword, rescue the maiden descendants of the sages, and face off against the one who would bring about the great calamity. This youth's name was Link, and he did all of this and more. With the might of the Master Sword and the holy silver arrows, he slew the Demon King and claimed the Triforce for himself, wishing away all of the death and darkness caused by this evil being, and brought a lasting peace to the land of Hyrule. This very same Ganon would be revived in an incomplete, mindless form by the witch's twin Rova after their initiation of dark rites in the neighboring lands of Labrynna and Holodrum, in the linked save files of Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. Set generations after his failed revival, an evil sorcerer and a scheming princess from the parallel world of Lorule summon Ganon from beyond. But the hero's descendant saves the day, and banishes both Ganon and this sorcerer named Yuga by the brilliance of the light arrows. And again, generations later, he'd appear as the Demon King to attack and raise the small kingdom in the land of Hyrule, and claim the Triforce of Power in the titular Legend of Zelda. This monster would be slain by a traveling boy-turned-hero named Link, reduced to a pile of hot ash with the shining power of the silver arrows. At last, we come to the great calamity of Breath of the Wild. King Rome tells us that the hideous specter we see was once a human, a demon king, resurrected through malice into the form that now circles the castle like a miasma of pure evil. His Hyrule Compendium entries state that he was known both as Great King of Evil, or more correctly, the Great Demon King, and Calamity. Both of these titles are not strangers to Ganons who have come before, however, but the appearance and attributes of this particular incarnation of hatred and malice are very intriguing, since it makes it very clear, to me at least, that this incarnation of Ganon is what would be known as an Onryu, a vengeful specter for those of you who don't know. This being is a kind of lingering spirit who exists thanks to intense feelings of malice, hatred, and grudges that cannot let the deceased pass on, turning them into hideous and malicious monsters. These are very common in Japanese folklore, both ancient and contemporary. A popular westernized version of this sort of specter and its effects would be the supernatural antagonists of The Grudge, produced by Takashi Shimizu in 2004. That is to say, that Ganon is a spiritual being of pure malice, lingering on as a living curse of destruction and rage. And while there are several incarnations of Ganon that could fit the bill as the precursor to this enraged beast, the purest malice and greatest rage would come from the child timeline. A man of great ambitions and purest malice, blinded by his lust for power, and a great demon king in his own right, was killed by the legendary hero, only to be reborn into the kingdom at a later age, transforming through darkness to become a king of darkness and bring calamity to Hyrule. He's sealed away, but with the knowledge of Vati's breach of this very same seal, I have my suspicions that Hyrule would have been aware of his inevitable return and acted accordingly, leading into the battle spoken of in the legends of Breath of the Wild, occurring some 10,000 years before the opening of that game. Being stabbed and likely killed by the hero, his spirit was sealed away by the sacred power of the princess, and that would neatly explain why it is a spirit of pure rage, like a force of nature, that ruined Hyrule absolutely 100 years ago. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing and click that like button. We hope to see you again next time here at the Great Library Mudora.